Okay, well, it wasn't bad. Had to go turn the AC off, you know. Too much noise for the recording, as it were. But yeah, that's a fun piece, isn't it? That sure is. I guess maybe not fun. Well, it is fun. I mean, it actually is very satisfying to play, so I suppose in that sense it's fun, but well, it's just ridiculously beautiful, isn't it? That's what it really is. That's the way to describe it. In fact, Chopin, the author of that piece, yet again on this episode of Etudesdays with me, Zach James. Thank you very much for tuning in. In fact, why don't I take this moment to just humbly implore you to like, subscribe, and if you haven't already, go ahead and turn that notification bell on to always be alerted to when new content like this is dropping, so that you never miss out. Because God forbid that that you wouldn't want that. No, of course you wouldn't. But anyway, yes, this is by Chopin. This is if any of y'all watched last week's episode, that was the first etude. This is the third etude of the set. So yes, we did skip number 2. It's coming. It's coming. I think. I think next week. It's very difficult. I was planning to do it this week, but it's just a real tricky little bastard there, isn't it? It's very tough. It's very tough. And so anyway, I need a little more time with that, so I thought I'd do the third. And so here we are. It's in E flat major, which is this. That very lovely key, Anyway, that just gives you a sort of flavor. The whole piece really is flavored around that key nicely, even when it kind of veers away from it. But it's got this lovely opening section that Chopin himself, getting back to the beautiful part, he said that this was his most beautiful melody that he ever wrote. I guess I forget when exactly he said that, but it was somewhat later in his rather young life. And anyway, yeah, that's saying something, because he wrote quite a few things that could, I think, very fairly be described as quite lovely and beautiful, and all sorts of flowery adjectives that you might want to throw at him. But yeah, he said this was the best. So how about that? And let's just revisit that to remind ourselves what the heck he was talking about there. Very simple melody, but he gives it this nice, these little under chords beneath it to give it this body and texture and color. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Supposedly, I think it was one of his students said that like he played it for him, or one of them played it for the other, and at the end, Chopin exclaimed, "Ah, my homeland," or something. This is referring to Chopin being somewhat, not really exiled per se, but perhaps spiritually exiled from his homeland of Poland. And if you're wondering why a guy with the name Frederic Francois Chopin is from Poland, it's because his father, I think, was French and moved to Poland, but Chopin was born in Poland, so he's Polish. I guess French Polish, or I don't know. I think he just felt Polish. And that's reflected in many of his pieces that use the Polish dance rhythms, the mazurka and the polonaise. We'll get to some of those later on this channel, so stay tuned. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, that Polish spirit always stayed with him, and he always intended to return. But if I'm not mistaken, when he left, he first went to Paris for a while, and that was, I think, around the time that he wrote these pieces. So I don't know what I guess that's what, maybe he was feeling a little homesick when he wrote this. The piece itself is actually like the first one, which got its nickname Waterfall. This one has the nickname Tristesse, which is French for sadness. The Tristesse. Anyway, to me, it's not a really sad piece. I mean, I guess it is if he exclaimed my homeland, but it's hard to, maybe it was like a fond reminiscence versus like a brooding sadness. Who can say at this point? Not me. Probably not you either, but I'm saying that it's got more than sadness in it. Let's go on. That to me is yeah, sadness is much too blunt a word. Maybe tristesse in French has a different connotation. Maybe it's not quite so monochromatic as sadness. I think that's exactly how it's translated, though. But I'm no philologist or person who studies languages, but what I am is a piano player, and I think this is an amazing piece. This is a must. This is a famous piece. Some of you may recognize it. It's actually, it kind of took a while to grow on me, and I remember at some point I was just playing, and it was just like, holy crap, this is gorgeous. Particularly when he, the sort of, so it's got two sections, the opening and the outer, and then they sandwich a middle section, which is much different if you recall from the performance a moment ago, and. Anyway, but those middle sections, or excuse me, the outer two sections, each reach a sort of. And then when that's played the second time, the last time, he varies it up with this wonderful. I mean, come on, that's. Anyway, it's hard to believe that just two little chords could be so simple. That's it's an A minor sixth, I guess, and just E flat, E major, excuse me, just E major chord for those interested. Anyway, but yeah, it's just unbelievably gorgeous there. Those harmonies and the simple melody that kind of really rises to this noble place, which is that's where you want nobility. You want it in sort of hobbit form, kind of great things in small packages, and that's exactly what you get from this. This one rightly deserves its fame. I mean, any fame they have, I think they all deserve. But this one, I don't know. This is definitely one of Chopin's greatest hits, and for darn good reason. It's just wonderful. Couldn't recommend it more for those of you out there who are thinking of playing it. And for those who do play, you know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? Feel me? I mean, come on, it's amazing. So it's got this middle section. And it does these really interesting, interesting, but just like kind of weird. And I'm aware I messed those up. Those are tricky. My fingers have trouble with those. But anyway, very dense, very odd, very angular, very angular. I mean, it's geometrical there, folks. That's some wild stuff. Sharp points, crenellations of sound that he just blockily, chunks out. And he's just doing these. It's just these diminished chords, basically, that he's just breaking up and it's just that's very etudish, So it's hard. Yeah, that's speaking of etude. What is the study of this? Some people debate this. Some people call it in this edition here, which is this I think is from the 20s, not the actual book, but when the edition was made. And the foreword says that this is like a etude of touch, or well, let's see exactly what it says just for just for fun. This is the Peters edition, which is a famous music publisher. Isn't that interesting? And one sometimes hears the wondering inquiry: what is the use of pieces and slow? They are studies in touch. This etude belongs to that class. For the double notes and the subordinate. Anyway, the cantilena with its dainty shading should stand. Anyway, yeah, so a studies in touch, and that's a good way to put it. You want to have a certain touch for that, and you want to have a very different touch for the. Sort of plays with our rhythmic assumptions there, and yeah, that's a tough bit to get under your fingers there. Let me tell you, but interesting thing to say, and not it doesn't to me take away from the beauty of the outer sections, or sort of get in the way. When I first listened to it, I sort of thought it did, because it is kind of a not quite jarring, because it starts out with a. Kind of fun, sort of more playful than, very playful. I wouldn't describe the opening and the outer sections as being playful. That's not really playful, but that. So anyway, there's a range of things happening in this. I don't know what this. I don't know. That's a lot of something getting released. So who knows? Young man, writing these things, all sorts of happenings going on for him in his life. New country, new identity. Flourishing, or start of a some quiet but very successful career ultimately as a composer. Although he didn't make a lot of money in his lifetime, but he was, his genius was unquestioned from the get-go, so as you might imagine. But anyway, yeah, that's that piece. Super beautiful. Played here in Tucson, also very nice. Ooh, nice evening out there. Looks swell. Here, how about a little taste? Huh? Yeah, not bad. Not bad. All right. Ooh. So, yes, thank you very much for watching. This has been Etudesday. Please, if you have any other questions, if anything I said didn't make sense, that would be astounding to me. But no, I'm certain that there were probably some incongruities here and there, so feel free to leave a comment, question. I would love to hear about it. And thank you so much again for watching. Please do like, subscribe, check me out on Patreon. There's, that's a good way to help support the cause and keep the music going. So yes, thank you all again, and